Hej wereld, jag heter Zack the Demon Lord. Hey world, it is I, Zack the Demon Lord, and yet again another YouTube video. It has been a little bit since I last did some YouTube stuff, and the most recent timing of me doing any YouTube things has all disappeared. I'm going to bring this up more in specific, maybe in a different video at a different time. It is something I'm willing to talk about. But yeah, I did delete a good chunk of all the videos I had. I just, did some thinking, realized some things, got rid of it. I'll talk about it more in specific in a later video probably. But I'm going to focus more so on a more specific topic that is in the title of the video. Before that, I know I look a little unkempt, slightly. I took a shower shortly after, went to bed, and kind of woke up. I combed my hair the best I could, but it looks a little unkempt. An unfortunate timing thing with this video is you're basically seeing, not that I have too many subscribers at this point, but if you've kept up with my journey at all, you're basically seeing the end product of getting back to a year of hair. Like, I only got like a month left, so we're basically there. But yeah, I look a little unkempt, and you're seeing pretty much the end product of that. But yeah, just in case this bugs you, it's just my Mjolnir necklace, and it's sitting just barely out of frame, so it is what it is anyway. But yeah, we will get into the meat of this topic. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's a very good game. I'm enjoying it. Sure, like all the other Assassin's Creed games, there's going to be some inaccuracies with some things, but that's not a big deal to me. I think you should strive to make it somewhat historically accurate, but you do have, if it's a video game or a movie, some leeway to make things how you want. But again, more so in the title, that's not what this is about. But yeah, it's a very good game nonetheless, and we will be in this video discussing some DLC and side story things. Now, I do want to make a caveat, because caveat's probably not the best term. I do want to discuss something, or mention something. I know, kind of like when I did a Duolingo overview, I'm going to get comments about, but the game's been out a while, people have played it, blah blah blah. Not everyone has played it. Like, even I just recently started the game some months ago, and over the summer I've had more time to play it, and get a pretty good chunk through it. So I know there's some late starters, so I do think this video will have some merit for some folks out there that are getting into Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the first time, or just Assassin's Creed at all. I know that was the case for me. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the first and only Assassin's Creed game I've ever played, and so I didn't know quite a few of the gimmicks of the game. I purely only got this game because it is a Viking game, and so that's another thing too. A lot of people I've noticed like to rant about this game because it's not a good assassin game, which is true. From what I've seen of now watching some video footage of some of the earlier games, yes, this is not an assassin game, but that's okay. I don't think most people that are very into this are expecting assassin game. People that are going to be more so getting into this game want a good Viking game, and I think it does that. It's a pretty good Viking game. But yeah, again, we're going to discuss DLC, but before that, To those of you new to the game, also I want to talk about another thing. We're going to be talking about specifically in this video places that you can physically go to. You know, you can't book a plane to Osgord. You can't ride a ferry to Niflheim. So we're not going to talk about the as a Norse heathen, I like to avoid this word, but we're not going to talk about mythological places. We're going to talk about purely geographical places here on Earth that you can physically go to today. And it's definitely not going to look like in the game, because the game is set a good 1,000 years ago. But nonetheless, that is what we're talking about, is places you can go to. And so I want to then talk about this for new people to the game in general. The main story, first you start in Norway. You get to see an event within the main character's childhood that causes him to become the type of adult he becomes, and you get to see some events that transpire in Norway and how that then leads him to end up in England, where you're going to spend most of your time in the game. Now, a lot of people like to talk crap about, I wish you could spend more time in Norway or spend more time here or there in Scandinavia. I too wish you could explore more of Scandinavia, but I do think it makes sense why most of the game is in England, seeing as the game predominantly focuses on the idea of going on raids and looking for lots of wealth and doing some warfare tactics and stuff like this. And a lot of that happened in England because that's where the Vikings invaded. Predominantly, they went to England. They created Danelaw and stuff like that. So, anyway, that's the main piece of the game. And so, the side story that comes automatically with the game, you end up in the Isle of Skye. If you don't know what that is, I want to say it's either an island to the west of or north of Scotland. We can confirm this though. Isle of Skye. Images. Map. Yes, I was right. Yeah. So here is a map. So yeah, that's the Isle of Skye, and so it's an island. I guess you would call that the northwest of Scotland. I can see on this map it's north of an island chain called the Hebrides. So that is a side quest you will do. I don't know the name of it, but I know you go there essentially. And I'm not going to ruin the story too much. I want to mainly focus on mechanics, because that's what this is going to be mainly about, is about the maps themselves and how taxing or untaxing they will be as you're playing it. The Isle of Skye, so how you get there is, I forget her name. The main character, Eivor, has a friend who is a witch who I think is named, if I remember right, Valka. Valka then has a friend who is from the Isle of Skye that shows up in your townstead, whatever you want to call it, of Ravensthorpe in England. So this friend comes and she's basically making a plea for help because a lot of the villagers on the Isle of Skye have gone crazy, and so that's how you end up going to the Isle of Skye. Because it's part of the main story, honestly, the map for the Isle of Skye is good. Everything pretty much, you're gonna see no real issues as far as like bugs and stuff like this. However, just because of the layout of the land, it is going to present some issues. So right, basically running, north to south, south to north, however you want to think of it. In the middle of the Isle of Skye is this pretty big mountain chain. I mean, it's not like humongous, but it is a pretty decent sized mountain or hill, whatever you want to say. But it's more of a mountain in my opinion because it's quite rocky. So there is kind of this annoying, if you want to get to the other side, you either have to go all the way around, or you have to climb over. And anyone who has spent any time on this game knows that climbing around above mountains does take a considerable amount of time, so do know that. Because it is part of the main story, another thing you're going to find annoying is that one of the little this is kind of rabbit hole, but side quests in the side quest is you're going to have to solve one of the animus anomaly puzzles. These always suck, but there is one on the island, and I remember it being a particularly annoying one. I could be wrong, but from my memory, it has been a little bit since I played the Isle of Skye, but I remember it being pretty dang annoying, to say the least. So do know this, that you're going to have this annoying mountain range and this annoying anomaly to deal with, anomaly puzzle. One of the kind of main purposes, though, that ends up coming into light with the Isle of Skye, though, is your character, Eivor, obviously a Norwegian Viking, gets to meet the main character of the Greek one, the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the main protagonist of that, whose name is Cassandra. And so Cassandra and Eivor meet. Initially they kind of duke it out, and then eventually they kind of become friends, and then you, the character Eivor, you get to go out and help Cassandra with solving an issue. Essentially, there is an ancient relic from, if you don't know Assassin's Creed, I don't expect you to know who these people are, but there's a relic on the island from an ancient people called Isu. And so, a combination of this relic and Cassandra finding her way to this island then cause all the people on the island to start going mad. And so that's the cause of it. And so you're going with her to fix this problem, essentially. I know I said I wouldn't talk too much about storyline, but that's basically the gist. Nothing too bad. It's a pretty mediocre time. Nothing too challenging. I mean, everything pretty much checks out. Even the bad guys or villains, whatever you want to call them, people you're against. They're not too bad to deal with if you're at an appropriate level, which I think, if I remember right, it suggests you being at 55. As long as you have reached 55 or above, you should have a pretty good time. Mind you, I didn't say this before, but I am talking about what I played in order. So anyway, after I finished that, I had read on the Google somewhere that with regions you can visit, that they had France and Ireland. And so I was like, that would be pretty interesting. Those both come with their own separate. Those are the two separate DLCs, and I through playing DLC, I have noticed this is where you're going to have the brunt of your issues. This is where the issues start to come into play, is when you're playing DLC content. Out of the two, I did. I'd have to say I enjoy Ireland more, even though it took longer and had some particularly troubling problems. And so Ireland is what we're talking about first. Essentially, you have I forget where she's from, but I'm going to say something. I might be wrong. Don't get mad in the comments, but I'm pretty sure she is an Arab merchant. If not Arab, she's like North African or something. And anyway, so she comes to Ravensthorpe and then basically asks you to come with her to Ireland, because basically your character's cousin is now the king of Dublin, and wants you to come visit. And then so you go to Ireland, and basic synopsis is you go there, you find out that there are some problems. Not a lot of people like your cousin because he's a Viking, and also because basically there's already some strife in the country. And so basically it ends up this thing where you're trying to so there's been a king elected to be king of all Ireland. Not everyone agrees. You do a bunch of tying around, trying to make the knot look pretty and get everyone in agreement to view him as their king. And meanwhile, you're also dealing with this problem of Christianity versus Celtic paganism or Druidry, and so that also brings out an interesting light. There's just basically you're just trying to do that, as well as through your power and means, you're gathering some special resources that are only on the island to build up your trade posts. And that's basically the gist. I'm not going to talk any further on the sort of storyline. I'm going to talk about Ireland itself. It was a very pretty map. I will say that. However, it did come with some issues, a lot of which were very, very annoying. First off, this is a little bit of a buggy map. I don't expect a full scale on DLC, honestly, but I know some of you do. And so just know when you're going into at least the 2 DLC I did, but this one specifically right now I'm talking about, it is a little buggy. Main bugs is there was a specific location this happened, and it might happen in a few locations. You're going to find that some stairs, when you're going up them, you end up having to fight with them to actually go up the stairs. Like, it just wants to keep you in place and act like you're hitting a wall instead of letting you ascend the stairs. So that is an issue. The biggest bug I found was, so in the northeast part in the map, and I can include a screenshot somewhere here of the map, but there is a castle that you have to go to. You're going to go to it, or whatever. I think it might have been integrated with the story, but I mainly went there to just take all the treasure and stuff. I think it was for one of the books of knowledge. For those of you who don't know, the books of knowledge are basically these books that you can grab that then give you an ability. They give your character a special ability, like shooting flame arrows or being able to summon your raven to attack someone or something. I don't know. But yeah. One of these is connected to a bug essentially in the game. One of the gimmicks that you run into again and again and again is there's these stone walls that like are made of like big old boulder stones, and they have like ropes and stuff going throughout them. Anyway, they're kind of like a barrier wall that it's a little hard to get through. It's a little bit of a puzzle thing that you have to figure out. Typically with these, and you would have like an oil lamp sitting around that you can carry, throw at it, it explodes and blows up the wall, and then there you go. And they're usually walls, and sometimes they're floors. The floor one doesn't make sense to me scientifically, but it's a game, so I'm not going to expect you to follow all of reality. And sometimes when it's a floor one of the gimmicks that the game will have is, this also scientifically isn't sound, but you'll have these like giant crates of rocks and stuff just sitting directly above it, and you're supposed to shoot a metal latch on a rope to let it fall down, and then when it hits the stone floor, it busts it open. Now here's the bug with this specific puzzle, is that it's going to hit the floor, and maybe for yours it does what it's supposed to, but with mine it was not letting me do what I needed to. Mine had a bug where something was just barely in the way, so it acted like it hit it instead of the floor. This thing caused the floor just to go unscathed, and so it doesn't bust open, and you don't get to go to the book of knowledge that you need. And then so some people might say, oh well, just do the oil jar thing. Problem is, there is no oil jar in the vicinity of this castle you're in, and so in order to get an oil jar there in the first place, you have to go wherever the nearest one is, which is probably a good 300, 400, 500 meters away. And when you have the oil jar, you're walking slow pace, and I don't even remember if you can even climb up to where it is on foot. So what I ended up having to do is, one of the abilities Eivor has from one of the books of knowledge that you obtain at some point is that you have an explosive arrow, and so that's what I use, is the explosive arrow to blow it up. Again, that relies on you having this ability, but I'm just letting you know that's what I had to do. The next thing I want to talk about, I guess, would be topography. This is a very rocky map, which makes it not great for running around, whether it's just your character himself or when you're riding your horse, or in my case, I have mine where it's the big wolf is what I ride in the game for my animal or whatever. And so, I keep, whistling, calling the wolf. The wolf comes, you ride it, and it's just having trouble because it's hitting rocks everywhere. And sometimes there's force too. The force are typically not bad, but something about the force in this DLC is just annoying, and you hit pretty much every tree. What else with that? And then just canyons, ravines, mountains, hills, just there's a lot of climbing and descending, so that is something that's going to take you a little bit if you're on this map. But yeah, that's the topography. Next I want to talk about more the gameplay and enemies. So one of the main problems you're going to find is that first up, it's going to suggest that you're level 55 at least, but you're going to quickly find out that there's a weird bug going on. If you're fighting soldiers, they feel a little bit stronger than typical, but the thing is, one of the main enemies you're going to find are the druids. Essentially, in the game, there's a good chunk of the druids that realize, the king's just doing king things. He's a Christian king. It's just part of who he is. Let's just all get along. And then you have a clan that's like, no, let's fight. Let's spill Christian blood. Let's kick out all the people we don't like. And so you're fighting against these druids, and they really suck. So essentially, in the druid camps, you're going to immediately see them because you're going to see the green fog. Essentially, all their camps have a hallucinogenic fog that surrounds the whole camp, which does provide an interesting experience between if you're inside and outside of the camp. If you're inside of the camp, first things first, Eivor is going to act a little, he's going to be high, but similar to if you drink mead, he's going to act all drunk and just be stumbling around a little bit and be a little discombobulated. So that's the first thing. But also, the enemies have what they're like inside of this hallucinogenic fog and what they're like outside. If you can lure the enemies outside the fog, they're going to be no more or less like any of the other soldiers in the game or creatures. And I say creatures for a reason. But if you're inside the fog, a whole other ball game. And so this is where, in general, I think the game is a little buggy, and it's supposed to be 55, but it acts more higher than that. They're a challenge for sure. It definitely tested me, and I was well above 55. I came into it, I don't really remember. I want to say I was at level 120 when I first started the Ireland map. But so some of these druids, their blades are poisoned when they're in the fog, hallucinogenic fog. Some of them can teleport. They teleport, and so that's a little difficult and challenging. And then some of them literally summon flames and throw fireballs at you. And anyone that has dealt with fire in the game knows that sucks, because fire is, the fire in the game is ridiculously OP. And so but one of your hugest issues you're going to find is there is a werewolf. I said that right. There is a werewolf. And so this werewolf is going to lunge at you and attack you, swipe at you, do some annoying moves, jump away, run around. You can barely get any hits on him, and he's a stronger character and has more health, so it's harder to deal with. And I don't like the werewolves, especially when there's two of them. You're gonna have an annoying time on the Ireland map for sure. Now with the werewolves though, lure them out of the fog. Just do it. That's what you're gonna want to do. Because guess what? If you lure them out of the fog, you know what the werewolves are? They're just some normal wolves. The fog has just made them look beefy, humanoid-esque, and annoying. But get out of the fog, you can have a normal battle and get rid of the wolf. It's an above average wolf. It's annoying to deal with when it's out of the fog, but worlds better than dealing with it in its werewolf form. I digress. So, yeah, that's the majority of the issue you're going to find with Ireland. Hello, future me. As I'm editing this video, one thing I forgot to mention about Ireland that I wanted to mention: there are so many cairns. According to Google, there are 4, but that is quite a lot still. If you played any of the game, once you get to the cairns, some of them are easy, some of them are hard. By the way, I'm saying cairn, not Karen. Cairn, Cairn, not the name Karen, Karen. A different thing. Anyway, a stack of rocks. That's what a cairn is. Anyway, yeah. These cairns are quite annoying to deal with, but yeah. One of the ones I found in Ireland was particularly annoying. It took me a good 30 minutes or so to figure out how to stack the rocks. Like, it just kept tumbling and tumbling and tumbling. So just know this, there are cairns in Ireland, apparently. Now let's move on to the last one. France, this is an interesting thing. Sometimes with France, some of the characters would call it Francia, and some of them would call it Francia. Now, for the sake of this, I'm just going to say France. But when I say France, it's more specifically the Paris area. So yeah, the map for France is specifically the northern part, and more specifically, kind of like France is sort of surrounding area and going until you reach the coast that's kind of towards England. That's basically what we're dealing with here when you go to the France map. The France map you're going to find a little easier to explore. It's smaller than Ireland. It's a lot more flat, though you can find some annoying mountains and buildings and stuff like this. But yeah, and the story itself too is also pretty short. So it's a pretty quick play. It is a higher requirement one though. The France map does ask that you're level 200 or 220. And I got on it when I had barely surpassed it. I want to say it was like 130, 140. It was, because of that, pretty challenging. But by the end, I was having an easy time, seeing as I left the map at 303, 304. So I gained a pretty good 80 or so skill points and ended up having an easier time. But yeah, the map's pretty good. I said it's pretty flat, little issues there. However, what you're going to more so have issues with. Oh, and I didn't talk about the story. Let's get to that first. So with the story for why you end up there, you have some Vikings show up in your village, and they're like, yeah, the Franks are a-holes. You want to come help us? And so you come, and it's a very interesting story. It's definitely very true. I think France did have a lot more Christian fanaticism than England did. England was bad too, but I think definitely the French take the cake with some of their things. You just see a lot of just interesting things, like just a lot of just corrupt things, and just let's say borderline demonic, if not demonic, rituals and things like this. And mind you, because of the amount of killing going on that the French did, in at least with the game, there was a plague which if I want to say there have been quite a few plagues in France. So I want to say that's fairly historically accurate, but I don't know. But that does lead to a thing that we'll discuss when we get to problematic things in the game. But yeah, so you basically go there and you speak with the Viking that came, their father, and the father is basically all, well, if they want to kick us out and kill us all, then let's just fight back and kill them instead, which isn't. It potentially protects your people, but at the same time, it's like at what cost? So basically, yeah, he's just a little too eager to fight. But you as the main character kind of suggest, actually, let me go talk to the Franks. And so you talk to the king and the Count of Paris mainly, and I'm not going to blow too much of it for you. But yeah, it essentially by the end, and you can make some of your own choices in the game. You'll probably make similar ones to what I did, but you'll end up the king ends up being a pretty hopeless situation, so you'll probably end up killing him like I did, and nevertheless you end up becoming friends, at least if you spare him. I think it gave you a choice, and I spared him. You end up friends with the Count, if I remember right, of Paris. And basically, yeah. And on the part of Eivor, he's really in it just to protect England, because it does sound like the French king is kind of a greedy guy that wants all the lands and wants them all to be Christian. But yeah, I'm not going to go much further into the story and talk more about just the map itself. Yeah, I said though, it's pretty flat, easy to manage. I would say the level it suggests you to be at is pretty true. A lot of the enemies were more or less what it was hard at first because I was just barely above that threshold, but as I got stronger, it became easier to manage. The only other thing I can mention, and this is connected to the plague, what you're going to find to be the most annoying thing as far as enemy wise is you can kind of call it an enemy, maybe a puzzle, I don't know, but essentially other maps have had rats before, but these rats actually come after you. And so you have these little patches of swarms of rats that the instant you step in their little domain, they come after you. And so you have to kind of jump around them, keep out of their domain or places they can get. And then it ends up with some other puzzles where you can either make them flee into some grates, which then make them flee into the sewer temporarily or somewhere temporarily, and then either it's an unplugged one that you can't do nothing about and they come back after a little bit, or it's one that you can plug up but via one of the giant movable wood stone pillar things, platforms. I don't know what to call them, but yeah. And then the other way to deal with them is find, this is going to sound morbid, but find a dead body of one of the guards that you fought or something and killed, and toss it into their domain, and they swarm around it and leave you alone. I did that a few times. But yeah, these rats are annoying because they do swarm you, and when that does happen, they're biting at you really fast, and so you just see your life just go from a full bar to and it goes really, really quick. The other thing too is when they are swarming you, because they're all around you, it doesn't let you move very well. So you can keep trying to, jump and roll and do what you need to, but it's, yeah, they got you pretty pinned down. And so that's the other annoying thing is it's a pretty much sure death. And it does take some getting used to. Oh, I forgot to mention one way to influence them to go into the grates. This is how you lead them there in the first place, is you have to constantly be attacking, and as you attack, they scurry away. But of course, you have the stamina bar to worry about, and so once your stamina goes out, you obviously can't attack for a little bit, and then they immediately swarm you again. So yeah, it's just a very, very troublesome big puzzle that you have to be very conscientious about to figure how to get from A to B. But yeah, let's see what else. Let's talk about that. Not everywhere, but mainly in Paris is where you're going to see this, with the important castles and fortresses and churches that you need to get into. You might find a stone wall you can climb, but you're not climbing over it. And here's why. A lot of these have these like spear spikes at the top level, and so it basically makes it where you can only get so high, and then it's completely around everything, and so there's no climbing over things. And so what that then means is it's exclusively something that you're going to be able to deal with by doing the storyline, and there's no other way around it. And so that is a little bit of an annoying thing, because personally how I like to do things is I like to do all the treasure hunting beforehand and discover everywhere on the map, and then do the story. And so yeah, it kind of made you have to multitask a little bit, or just do all of what you can and then go to the story and collect as you go with those few remaining things. Let's see. I talked about enemies and all that. The only other thing I can say, and this is the biggest issue that you're going to find, at least it was for me. I don't know if it's just my computer is a little dirty or what, but I'm doubting it's that, and I'm more thinking it's just because of the DLC, because I have literally no other issues. Like even right now, I spent before this a few hours on the game in England and no issues. I think it's just certain areas of the France map and just some bugs and stuff. If you're doing the PC version, it does cause your PC to crash out, and the game just shuts off and your computer goes right to your desktop screen. This is annoying because when it does that, it's not like it saves or anything, so you end up having to redo a little bit of stuff before that point, and potentially let the computer chill a little bit, or find a different way around. And so that's what I had to do. And so yeah, it just kind of seemed that France was just making my PC run a little more than the rest of the map, and that could have just been because of there probably being quite a few bugs and stuff like this. But yeah, this is a pretty long video, but I have talked to you about all of the maps that are places you can actually visit. We talked about the Isle of Skye, we talked about Ireland, and we talked about France, and how those sort of run. Overall, your experience is going to be pretty good with all of them. Of course, though, the Ireland and France are going to present the most issues, because it is just so taxing in one way or another. But yeah, I think that does it for this video, though. It's been a pretty long video. I've chatted enough. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, please subscribe, please share with friends and family and the like, and yes, we shall see you in the next video, and until then, hey do.